Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Oh, Home Alone, the holiday classic. Directed by Chris Columbus of Harry Potter fame and written by the great John Hughes. Everybody loves John Hughes. Well, except God because he killed him. But still, when I was a kid, I loved Home Alone. When it would come on television, I was so excited to go back to that world. The atmosphere of the movie, the score, Kevin McAllister, Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci's memorable turns as some bumbling crooks, the parents that are completely terrible people. The thing is, though, it was very easy for me to relate to that movie because I was a psychopath little kid who would build traps and stuff for people. So if they ever came into my house, I could viciously murder them. With the years, I don't like Home Alone anymore. So every time I try to rewatch it, and a lot of people say Home Alone 2 is better, and I agree with that and disagree at the same time. It's got things about it that are better, like the hotel part with Tim Curry, but it also has a lot of the exact same issues that are throughout the first Home Alone. This is unfortunately that period in the 90s with John Hughes where he just started to write really bad scripts for the paycheck. Yeah, and to think about it, this is the guy who wrote Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and then later on in the 90s was writing Flubber. It's just a sad time we live in. It was, I'm not blaming the guy. He wanted to make money, and, he wrote this movie, and it was a hit, but oh my god. And, compare this to so many other Christmas films like Christmas Vacation or A Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life. This movie isn't just cynical in a clever way where it's cynical towards commercialism and Christmas, and it's also not like a great Christmas movie that celebrates the holiday. It's neither. It's one of the most nihilistic films maybe ever made for families. It's completely depressing, it lacks any humanity, and it says that everything is pointless. At least that's what I take from it now. Maybe I'm wrong. But let me talk about the things I don't like. There's a part early on. Everyone knows the scene where they get the pizza, right? And Kevin wants his pizza and he's looking for his slice and he doesn't know where it's at, right? Well, then that whole thing with the table happens and all that, and so there's this big blow up, and his uncle, I believe, whoever that guy is, yells at him and calls him a little jerk in front of everyone. Now, I don't know about you guys, so maybe you had a different childhood than me. I'll take that. I'll take that into consideration. But if that had happened in my life, not only would my father and mother have been very upset, he would have had to apologize to me, and not even apologize to me. It just would have been those situations. I don't know. It's when someone yells at your kid like that, and then the parents just act passive about it, like they don't care. It's weird. It's a very weird way to establish the movie early on. Now, I don't mind if the parents are disconnected from Kevin and they don't really they're not noticing he's going through some stuff, or maybe they're not paying attention because they have so many people around and they're nervous about the holidays, but that's just basic parenting 101. Is like sticking up for your kid. But apparently anyone's just allowed to yell at him and it doesn't matter. Then Kevin doesn't want to sleep with his cousin in the bed because he wets the bed. The mother tells him that she doesn't care. No one has any consideration for the kid here early on. Not only do they not want to help Kevin, they're angry that he's even asking these questions. Very reasonable things that he's not being that much of a jerk about. Honestly, when you rewatch the movie, when I was a kid, I used to think, oh, Kevin, you have to learn your lesson. Now I'm like, no, Kevin's completely correct. So the parents leave and then forget their child, which would immediately, for me, be a telltale sign that they really don't care about their kid. Now, let's ignore the whole child protective services argument here that I think is a valid one. I definitely think these parents would have most likely lost this kid during this situation. So the parents leave, and they don't notice that Kevin's not with them, and they leave him home alone. So then the whole thing's about the mom going back home to find Kevin while he fights the two criminals breaking into his house who have this elaborate plan to rob all the houses. And I feel bad for these two guys because they really should have just stopped when they're ahead. I really don't get it. They've robbed all these houses and they're making all this money, and then they want to rob Kevin McAllister's house, which I guess his dad's rich, which seems established in both movies. They must have unlimited money. I mean, his dad must be a multimillionaire because they're always going on trips, and Kevin uses his credit card and buys a bunch of stuff. I don't know. They just seem to have a lot of money. I don't know. It's movie logic. But it's about the mother trying to go back and then Kevin finding these criminals. But these guys make all this money and they just can't let this house go. They're so mad at the kid. because they're crazy too. You know, if I was a guy who broke into houses with another guy, and I went to a place where some kid had all these traps set up like Jigsaw to kill me, and I mean, he was clearly a kid with mental issues. Like, he syncs up dialogue from a movie and himself and all that, and acts it out. I mean, crazy imagination for these sick acts. So you think they would just leave and say, hey, let's go to another house, but they keep going forward. They keep persisting. They have to rob Kevin's house. The McAllisters must have something in there. Is there drug money? What's going on at this McAllister home? So the mom comes home, and at the end of the movie, it's all emotional. Oh, I love you, Kevin. I'm so sorry I left you home alone. Then there's this stupid thing where they call the cops, and the cop goes to the house, knocks on the door, nobody answers, so the cop just leaves. The cop doesn't break down the door or use a thing to pick the lock, which would be a lot easier, actually. Anything like that a cop would be able to do to go find the kid, get him out of the house, and then take him to the police station or something and set with him until his parents come home. But for some reason in this town, the police are that bad. I mean, come on, it's a little white kid. The cops would be there in 5 seconds. And no, he just knocks there like, okay, why didn't the neighbors call anyone? Why didn't Kevin go to a neighbor's house? No one's there. Everyone left. Why is the old guy not doing anything? Why does he wait till a few days to be like, oh, the kid's home alone? Why doesn't the old guy go over to the house the first day and say, hey, I'm going to take care of you? None of it makes any sense, really. Home Alone is the first time John Hughes wrote a screenplay where it had a lot of his humor, and honestly a lot of his wit even, and characterization, and really clever ideas, but it lacks the logic. This film's all over the place. Now, maybe that's because he didn't direct it. So that's a good point. Maybe he couldn't, what he does as a director is different from what other people do with the screenplays. I mean, whenever I've seen anyone else direct the John Hughes script, I've never really been a fan of it, even going back to the 80s. I think Pretty in Pink suffers from its direction, not so much his writing. Yeah, this isn't a very good movie. And I'm not knocking the cinematography and how good the score is and the stuff with the furnace and all that, and how good it is in the music. I like a lot of that stuff. It's still really engaging. And Macaulay Culkin's terrific as Kevin McAllister, and it's still really fun when he's alone at the house by himself playing. It's funny, they didn't get the magic of the movie right. See, the movie should be about a kid having a lot of fun and enjoying life when his parents are gone. And instead of that, though, they make it this whole thing where he has to fight the bad guys, and it's a bunch of slapstick comedy. Poor Daniel Stern, the great Daniel Stern, Kevin Arnold himself has to suffer in this for a bunch of gags, and this one of Joe Pesci's worst performances. But it's really true. It's a movie that could have been so much more. You didn't need the negativity with the parents early on. It could have just been normal, and then Kevin being home alone could have felt more like an accident. And then it could have been, there's that scene where he's like dancing around in the living room with everything. That's really fun, and it shows his early ability to kind of build things and all that. But that's just not developed enough. We should get more time with Kevin wanting to design and build things. Maybe he's got this crazy architect-like mind, or he's an engineer or something. Maybe he has a crazy smart mind, and that's why everyone in his family feels disconnected from him, because he's like a genius. So that it's more easy to believe that he can do this. Because instead, he's just a little kid that's doing these impossible things because the movie requires it, so they can have the gags. When instead, it could have been a really cool movie about a kid being alone, a boy going through his house and being scared of things like what's in the basement and having to go buy things by himself and not really knowing what to do. It's very interesting. All that stuff could have really been a charming film that really celebrated Christmas, that the holidays can transcend being with family and friends, that Kevin can enjoy Christmas by himself. And I think that's an interesting message. And then his family kind of realizing that, like, okay, he's grown up, he's more mature. We almost a Malcolm in the Middle thing, like the family struggling with the genius. But I don't know. I just feel like there was many places they could have gone. I'm not saying I'm a better writer than John Hughes. Don't get me wrong about that. No. But Home Alone suffers so much from this hatred. Everyone's so mean in this movie. His parents are mean. He's kind of mean. The bad guys are mean. Thank God for John Candy coming in and being like the nicest guy ever for a while and bringing some humanity to the movie. That's the only time it ever feels right, is those segments when the mom's traveling with that group. That stuff feels really good and feels the most John Hughes and it has the right tone. It's tonal issues. It's all over the place. Chris Columbus has always had this issue as a director outside of Adventures in Babysitting. His tone is all over the place as a director. All the time. Even the Harry Potter films. He can't decide if he wants to make a dark kids movie or the most family-friendly Spielberg film. If he's always struggled to keep... He keeps trying to do Gremlins because he had so much success with the work he did on Gremlins. He wrote Gremlins, and he's just been trying to ride that wave ever since. It's just like, dude, stop trying to do Gremlins. Oh god, young Sherlock Holmes has so much Harry Potter in it. But all I wanted to make this video for was that a lot of people... I don't know how people feel about this movie. I've heard a lot of people do hate Home Alone now, and think the sequel's better. I know that, you know, at the time, like I said, critics didn't like it. I could see why. Upon rewatch, not that it's a badly produced film, or even a badly acted film entirely, or a badly paced film. It moves pretty okay. It's just that, yeah, it's one of the most negative Christmas films ever made, and the parents really bother me from the beginning to how needlessly cruel they are to Kevin, or just how they don't seem to give a damn. And because there's no motivations or character development or much of a backstory, it doesn't really matter. So overall, the movie feels kind of shallow and empty because of this. But that's just me. Home Alone makes me feel lonely. And not in like that artistic, existential, philosophical, you know, German film way. It just makes me feel lonely because, well, really, I don't want to be Kevin or anyone in this movie. I don't want to be around these people. I don't want to be in this world. It's not realistic enough to get by on the negativity, and it's not happy enough to just be an enjoyable experience. I feel like the movie Paddington did a lot of this stuff better in the last few years, directed by Paul King. But if you love Home Alone and it's one of your favorite Christmas movies, I'm not here to take that away from you. You know, that it's iconic to see Kevin in that red sweater doing the thing with the, you know, when he puts the aftershave on. All that stuff's really fun still, and there's still a lot of good gags, but I'm going to say it, Home Alone does not hold up. And I would go into a deeper analysis or review of the movie to break that down, but I'm just going to say in a broad way that it's, in broad strokes, that it's a tonal issue and a lack of likable characters that is throughout the entire movie. And it makes the interesting things about Kevin seem less so, and they don't explore those aspects. And they keep trying to make him just like any other kid, but he's not. So that kind of bothers me too. Anyway, Merry Christmas, people. Thank you for watching. And have a good New Year, too. Or whatever. Happy New Year.